They carved messages into the city, bodies hanging from bridges, masked gunmen parading through main streets, and a silence that tasted like fear. In towns that once sold oranges and handicrafts, shopkeepers now whisper cartel names as if saying them aloud could summon death. This is not a war between armies. It is a slow, brutal collapse of civic life, fought by criminal enterprises that treat entire regions as their battlegrounds. What began as smuggling routes and hidden labs has transformed into a national struggle for power, money, and control. And no one is safe. Over the last 4 decades, cartels have turned once quiet communities into war zones, where the line between soldier, police officer, and criminal blurs, and where survival itself is a daily negotiation. The origins of Mexico's cartels can be traced back to the 1970s and 1980s, when Colombian cartels dominated the global cocaine trade. At first, Mexican traffickers were subcontractors, moving cocaine across the U.S. border. Geography made them invaluable. The 2,000-mile-long border with the United States was impossible to fully patrol, and smugglers exploited old routes, bribed officials, and leveraged poverty in border towns to move drugs north. Soon, Colombian bosses realized it was easier to pay Mexican partners with cocaine instead of cash. That decision would forever change the balance of power because Mexican cartels didn't just transport drugs, they owned them. That ownership fueled their rise from smugglers to empires, and over time, these organizations developed sprawling networks with soldiers, informants, and local administrators who ruled towns with both terror and generosity. By the 1990s, a handful of powerful organizations controlled most of Mexico's underworld. The Tijuana Cartel, the Juarez Cartel, the Gulf Cartel, and the Sinaloa Cartel, which would become the most famous. These cartels were more than criminal networks. They were shadow governments. They bribed governors, infiltrated police departments, and provided for local communities in ways the state never could. For many families, the cartel was more present than any government official. Yet behind this facade of power simmered rivalries that would soon ignite full-scale violence. Each cartel sought to expand territory, control smuggling corridors, and maintain influence over regions where poverty made resistance impossible. When authorities launched campaigns to capture cartel leaders in the 2000s, they hoped to dismantle these networks. Instead, it fractured them. Removing a boss often created a power vacuum that dozens of lieutenants rushed to fill. Instead of one stable organization controlling a quarter, 10 small groups fought for the same territory, revenue streams, and influence. This multiplication of actors with fewer restraints produced unprecedented violence. Each group competed aggressively for dominance, often using spectacular displays of terror to intimidate rivals and civilians alike. Towns once safe became battlegrounds where mass shootings, ambushes, and kidnapping sprees became common. Amid the chaos, one group emerged as particularly ruthless: the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, or CJNG. In less than a decade, CJNG spread from western Mexico to nearly every corner of the country. Their tactics were brutal and highly visible, ambushing military convoys, parading armored trucks, and uploading videos showing soldiers pledging loyalty to El Mencho, their leader. Unlike older cartels that preferred quiet operations, CJNG embraced shock tactics, using violence not only to defeat rivals, but to broadcast their power. Their expansion and willingness to confront state forces directly made them one of the most dangerous criminal organizations in the world. For years, the Sinaloa cartel stood above the rest, led by Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. Chapo became both a symbol of the glamour and the brutality of narco culture. A man who built billion-dollar smuggling routes, escaped prison twice, and was idolized in popular songs. Yet his arrest and extradition to the U.S. left the cartel weakened and divided. Today, Sinaloa is split between rival factions: Chapo's sons and the old guard loyal to El Mayo Zambada. These internal conflicts have created chaos on the streets, as rival factions fight to maintain territories, and competitors like CJNG exploit divisions to expand their control. The violence is not limited to border towns or big cities. In Michoacán, a state known for avocado orchards, entire regions are controlled by competing factions of La Familia Michoacana and CJNG. Farmers are forced to pay protection fees to multiple groups simultaneously. Those who resist often disappear. In Tamaulipas, the Gulf Cartel and Los Zetas have fought over key ports along the Gulf of Mexico for years, turning highways into death zones. Civilians recount stories of ambushes where dozens of bodies were left on empty roads to serve as warnings to others. Even schools have been attacked as gangs recruit teenagers or eliminate local authorities. The war is inescapable. Cartels do not only fight with guns, they fight with fear. Public executions, decapitations, banners, and videos are intended to paralyze communities. Terror is a form of currency. By proving they are more brutal than rivals, cartels send a message that resistance will cost lives. Ordinary citizens pay the highest price. Small businesses hand over protection fees, farmers are told what to grow, and street vendors surrender a portion of earnings. Refusal often leads to disappearance or death. Communities are trapped in a daily struggle to survive while navigating a landscape where loyalty, silence, and fear determine life or death. Behind every statistic lies a human tragedy. Mothers search endlessly for missing sons, fathers flee towns to protect children, and entire communities are displaced from fertile farmland. Journalists who report on cartel activities face threats, kidnappings, and assassination, making Mexico one of the deadliest countries for the press. Teachers in rural areas live in fear as gangs recruit teenagers straight from classrooms. For civilians, the war is not about drugs. It is about survival in a society ruled by fear and violence. While drugs remain central to cartel profits, modern organizations have diversified. They control illegal mining, fishing, and logging, selling resources on the global market. Fuel theft, or huachicol, drains billions from the national economy. Kidnapping, extortion, and even the control of avocado plantations have become lucrative ventures. In Sinaloa and Guerrero, farmers report paying multiple cartels for protection, while gangs hijack shipments for profit. This diversification embeds cartels within the legal economy, making them harder to combat. Fighting the drug trade is no longer just about shutting down labs. It is about confronting criminal enterprises that permeate daily life. The weapons of cartel wars resemble those of armies more than criminals. Cartels use high-caliber rifles, armored trucks, grenades, and drones. Many soldiers are ex-military trained in advanced tactics. The government has deployed the Army and National Guard to counter them, but militarization often accelerates violence, as cartels retaliate with mass killings to demonstrate dominance. Ordinary civilians continue to bear the brunt of these clashes. In one chilling incident in 2019, a convoy of 30 armored vehicles blocked a highway in Culiacan, forcing residents to flee as gun battles raged for hours. Such events are no longer rare. They are the new normal. No story of Mexico's cartels is complete without mentioning the United States. American demand for cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, and fentanyl fuels cartel profits, while guns flow south, arming fighters. High-profile trials, arrests, and extraditions target leaders but often destabilize cartel hierarchies, causing outbreaks of violence in local communities. The fight against cartels is as much about policies and demand abroad as it is about Mexican law enforcement. Drug use, precursor chemicals, and money laundering create a feedback loop that ensures the war will not end until systemic changes occur on both sides of the border. Experts debate Mexico's cartel future. Some predict consolidation. A few dominant cartels might reduce violence but increase their political influence. Others expect continued fragmentation, with dozens of unpredictable groups terrorizing regions. In states like Baja California and Zacatecas, cartel clashes over mines, drugs, and human trafficking routes have become constant. Solutions require reducing corruption, strengthening institutions, providing economic opportunities, and curbing drug demand abroad. Without these measures, the cycle of violence is likely to continue indefinitely. The true cost of the cartel wars is not measured in dollars or drugs seized, but in broken families, displaced communities, and silenced voices. Children are too scared to play outside, and towns are haunted by the constant presence of fear. Yet amid this darkness, stories of courage emerge. Mothers searching for missing children, communities organizing against extortion, and journalists risking their lives to tell the truth. These acts of bravery hint at a future where resilience may eventually challenge the power of fear. So as the sun sets over a land both beautiful and haunted, the question lingers: will Mexico's future be written by the trigger fingers of cartel gunmen, or by the courage of its people to break the cycle of fear?